what the Novus Ordo is doing is, on the face of it, it's vernacularization. That's the kind of idea, but it's not. It is not vernacularization. It's simplification. It is a dumbing down of the worship. So when we want vernacularization, we don't want it to be like the kind of language we use when we talk to our friends, but rather some kind of, serious language, classical language as well. That's why, the kind of Latin aspect of the Mass, even though it's not vernacular, it has that classical aspect to it. That's why we want in English liturgies, we want classical English, not like classical English to the point where no one understands what's going on, but classical English, like King James English, for example,
No, I think
right?
we want an Ebonics liturgy. We want Ebonics.
Yeah.
We want Pidgin. That
Yeah,
made up
pigeon
language
liturgy.
Pidgin.
Yeah.
You want the Esperanto
But
liturgy.
yeah, the points that I made in the video, I'm gonna kind of summarize them,
Sure.
the observations that I made. The first observation is that the Vatican II spirit is obviously in full force. I think it's undeniable. I think this kind of, I think developments like this kind of disproves any need of a debate on whether Vatican II is I mean, the force the Council of Vatican II has is like much powerful than most other ecumenical councils in Roman Catholic history. When that's the case, you kind of have to just say, what's going on over here. Second observation is that the good aspects of the Roman Catholic Church that's left is from us now. Like they don't have anything on their own left. In 5-10 years, the TLM is just going to get phased out if things go this way. We'll see how it goes, but I think it's just going to be phased out eventually. Maybe we'll see Novus Ordo, some parts of the Novus Ordo Mass becoming more TLM-ish, like TLM light at most. And then what? Like the most classical, reverent form of liturgy you're going to have is from us. And that I think has a lot of symbolic meaning behind it,
Right.
that the good parts of your religion is really from us, and that sends a message to, I think, a lot of trats that they should really come back home. And the third observation that I had, I think it was something akin to, I actually forgot now, but I want to kind of talk more on the second observation, is that, again, sure, you might have Eastern Rite liturgy, but liturgy and its theology are not separable things. So this is not just some aesthetic museum kind of thing that a lot of trads believe, but it's actually a practical application of the theology. That's what liturgy kind of is. So you can't enjoy Orthodox liturgy without enjoying Orthodox theology. And I think a lot of tracts that talk trash about St. Gregory Palamas are going to eat their words when they witness the second Sunday of Lent in Eastern Rite churches, because that's all about St. Gregory Palamas, the second Sunday of Lent. So I just kind of wonder what's going to happen in the Tradcaf world. It's something that we need to see. But the third observation was the superiority of Orthodox ecclesiological structure. Usually, Tradcaf arguments are about you can't get things done. And my response to that, well, you can't defend those things that you got done, because all you need to do to subvert the central structure is to just take the guy in charge and the rest follows. If you want to subvert the Orthodox Church, certain jurisdictions, that has happened in history, it is happening now, but you're going to have to work a lot harder to actually succeed in what you're doing. We went through the Ottoman conquests. That was a pretty heavy thing in and of itself. I mean, a 1,000-year-old empire just fell. And then the Russian Empire fell because of communist regime. And both of those things fell away, and the Orthodox Church still stands. So not only that, is it kept its doctrines and it defended them, right? We still preserved the Orthodox faith properly, in contrast to the Roman Catholics, for example, which, it's kind of interesting because the psychological phenomena has become, they have given up theology and they've just started to just defend the papacy, and that's all they're doing right now. And so they've given up all the aspects of a religion, which just, it at this stage, it has become a football team that you want to support, in my opinion. That's what it has devolved into. My football team is better than yours. Our football team is just, we haven't won a cup for 20 years. That's the state of the debate right
Yeah.
now. But the thing I can give to the Roman Catholic Church is that as an institution, it's long lasting. It's not that bad as an institution. It has survived for a long time, but it's not a divine institution. It is an institution in the sense of just something that exists. And things like this is what happens when you depart from what really makes you you, which is tradition, scripture, and the faith, ultimately speaking. Because in a lot of these questions, some might ask and wonder, well, how do the Orthodox solve this problem, right? It is because, first of all, and I think this is a very interesting point, is that for us, the fullness of the church subsists in each Orthodox church, whereas in the
Right.
Roman Catholic system,
Yes.
the fullness of the church subsists only in Vatican. This is a massive difference in
It's
understanding.
decentralized. Why can't you understand this? Roman
Yeah,
Yeah.
Catholic.
Why is it so hard
and
to? That's
due
why
to this,
if a see goes, a patriarch goes corrupt, it doesn't affect orthodoxy.
and the apostolic continuity allows us to keep what was existing, right? We have a living tradition rather than what one man defines tradition. I mean, when I listen to these statements from Vatican I, from like this talk even, I just get shocked. I mean, I just can't believe how can one man can even define these things by itself. These are things that really no person can define. These are things that are alive. So I think this kind of speaks to the massive difference in approach because for a lot of people, especially for very autistic people like me, we like reading books and we like reading the rules so we can understand them. That's the way we kind of operate. But Orthodoxy has that through the councils, but it also has the living tradition in the liturgy and in the prayers. And I think this kind of aspect being forgotten is really the root cause in all of these things, in my opinion. I think when you read Saint Athenagoras of Athens, this is really interesting. He differentiates the Christian religion from the pagan speculative philosophy, basically saying that we have the prophets, we have the living tradition of the prophets, whereas all of you people, sure, you have your philosophers, but it's not alive. It's just a bunch of books, right? You don't really live the teachings of those philosophers that you have. Whereas, we have the prophets and we live by their teachings and the fulfillment of those teachings. This is how he kind of differentiates himself from pagan philosophers. And I think today, this is really how we differentiate ourselves from other religions ultimately as well. And this is why I so regularly see a lot of Roman Catholics, the way they argue is so different. The mindset is so different now. They're completely forgotten the first millennium mindset. And they've just adopted everything we have in the second millennium, it's first millennium, but better. That's the kind of mindset they have now. And the only thing I've never seen, for example, I've never heard a Roman Catholic use a first millennium saint in their argument unless it is to prove the papacy or sacerdotalism and Eucharist. I haven't seen them cite any fathers in the first millennium for any other reason,
Well, yeah,
personally. And I
because
think
95%
this
of
this
them
is an illustration of that.
don't read the fathers or know what they actually said or taught, unless it's to find a papal quote mine. That's really all they think the fathers are
Yeah,
worth.
or a quote mine against a Protestant, like the Eucharist again, or priests and bishops. The systematic approach is in the fathers all throughout. And this is why I think kind of Orthodox argumentation on these things is the same thing. It's systematic approaches rather than, oh, you have this thing I don't like. Like a great example, another one is divorce. They always talk about divorce
Hmm.
and remarriage as if it's this super debate ender. When even by itself it is not okay in the system, but even in the evidentialist sense, even in that sense it's not a debate ender because it's in the pre-schism church. So I think I've kind of said this over and over again. I think the foundation of this is really the approach. They just moved away from the father so much when they see the representation of it in the modern day. There's a massive recoil because it's so foreign. I think with a lot of these people, and it
Well,
breeds
yeah,
this kind of stuff, right? Superstition, and I mean, we can talk about Trinity Latin Mass being beautiful. I've seen apparently people are converted because it's beautiful, but at a certain stage, you have to push aside those superstitious or womanly reasons and actually have proper manly reasons
Right.
to be part of religion, other than, oh, beauty will save the world. Oh, I'm just returning to tradition. Give me something better, man. Come on.